Good morning and welcome to another episode of Detail Bookie and RoadFS podcast. I am Rod Pusey as always, and you notice there's not a little short man next to me. Jody is off enjoying himself today in Greece for his 60th birthday. So when you see him next time, tell him how old he is. Today we have a great guest, Chris Worden. How are you doing, Chris?
Good, how are you?
So I can't hear you now, Chris.
Hold on, let me see if I can get my mic up.
Oh, there you go. Now we're
Good?
there. Yeah,
All
we're
right.
good. So, Chris, let's talk about you and where you're located first.
My name's Chris Worden. I'm located out of Albion, Michigan. Small little college town. A lot of people don't know about it. I always have to reference we're near Jackson. Jackson's a little bit bigger city. So that's kind of where we are.
Awesome. So, how long have you been doing detailing?
So I think like a lot of us, we've been all doing detailing in the industry since we can go back to our little age. When I was a little kid, I'd always beg to wash mom and dad's car, and they always thought it was great. Obviously they didn't have to do it. And then so I guess fully, I've been kind of doing it my whole life, but professionally, I've been doing it for about the past 10 years.
Awesome. So, are you in a large market, small market, medium? Where are you at as far as number of people?
So that's a loaded question, and I say that because I'm in a little small college town. I would say I'm in the little market, although I'm in a big market as far as being mobile. So when it comes to like servicing clients here in Albion, Michigan, it's very few and far between. We don't have a lot of customers in this area that are looking for services like that. So what's helped me out in my business is being mobile. So my service van is on the road all over mid Michigan. So wherever my outreach is where I go.
Got it. Got it. So then are you also in a fixed location or are you just mobile?
I'm just mobile. There's a couple reasons behind that. Typically, I'm mobile in a sense because when I got into the industry and started mobile, it was kind of a hobby of mine. So I started with out of my pickup truck and was kind of doing it on the side as I was working full time, like I think a lot of us detailers do.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I kind of just it went from a hobby to a business, so that's kind of how it transpired. And honestly, I didn't want the overhead. The market for mobile, I think, is really big. However, again, mobile kind of limits us as detailers as what services we can offer. So there's that aspect as well.
Yeah. So you've got a lot of years under your belt. Have you attended? And this is going to be another loaded question. So how did you have you attended a lot of trainings, or how do you keep yourself fresh?
I try to keep myself fresh with so we went down to Indiana to when I first started my business and really started gaining traction with customer base. I wanted to set myself apart from say quote unquote competition or other
Yeah.
people. And I told myself too, if I want to do this business, I want to do it right, and I wanted to do it to the best of my ability. So I went down to Indiana and we did all the training with PNS products. Went and did all their certifications with paint correction, worked with their flex tools, got familiar with those products, just kind of setting ourselves apart from other people. And then again, staying up to date with the latest and greatest products and tools and equipment to not only help our customers, but to help us provide, easier services on us as the service providers. So I try to stay connected with what's going on with PNS, obviously Detail Bookie, what software is out there. We'd like to actually go down and get some more training done. Just haven't had time. Just busy.
Yep. Hey, you're breaking up just a little bit, so just make sure that your mic is set where it's not picking up any feedback, because it was just breaking up a little. I could still understand you, but it was just a little bit broken up there.
Yeah, yours is breaking up as well. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can.
Boy, it's awfully cracky on my end.
Yeah, it is. Let's see if we can. Yeah, I know the reception's bad. Thanks, Richard. We're going to try and see if we can figure out why. Hold on just 1 second, ladies and gentlemen, and we will figure it out. Let's try this guy. How about now? Are we a little better?
Sound good? Sounds good to me.
Okay, we're back in business. Sorry about that, folks. So you've been with PNS. What got you interested in PNS products? Was it just going to a training, or are you familiar with the owners or the trainers, or?
So long story, I got connected with Jessica Root and Travis. They owned Final Approach Detailing in Okemos, Michigan. When I went with them, I would buy products from them, and I actually don't know how I got to meet them, but I seen that they were using PNS products, and again, I wanted to kind of separate myself and use professional grade products. So after that, we went down to Indiana and met with the folks down there that were running the program, and that's kind of how I got introduced to PNS, and that's what we've kind of stuck with and used.
Okay, that sounds good. I am having another issue with the sound, so give me 2 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to. How about now? How about now? We switch places.
I will say
We'll
we
switch.
switched. Is it going to be
That's
better?
right. We're going to switch chairs and see if the sound gets any better. How about that? So, well, that's cool because we know Jessica and those guys, and we also know the PNS folks really well. The Bob, Dave Phillips, Sydney Bray Gwynn, and all of the people that are reps, Keith Duplessis and stuff. So do you go to Mobile Tech Expo and all those good things?
Yeah, and a funny story about that. I'm glad you asked that. So when I went down to Mobile Tech Expo, I think back in 22 or 23, I was walking the showroom floor, and that's when I ran into Dustin at the time when he was running Detail Bookie, and I went up to his booth, and he says, "How are you keeping your customer information, and how are you booking customers?" And I said, "I'm old school. I'm doing it pen and paper." And he
Yeah.
kind of just shook his head and he says, "You got to have a software that's going to work for you." So we did their free trial, got a lot of good response out of it, and then ended up, purchasing the full, monthly subscription. And man, it's just been a game changer. So going down to MTE, I mean, that for me was a big eye opener for someone that has kind of been a backyard detailer and
Yeah.
seeing what the industry has to actually offer for us service providers. That was a big eye opener.
Cool. So we got a really good question from Sarah Rouse. She says, "How does mobile detailing in wintertime for you in Michigan? I know sometimes winter's crazy."
Here's the thing, and I'm glad that question came up, but I was kind of nervous because I didn't know really how to answer it. The short answer of that, being here in Michigan and being a mobile guy is very difficult. I'm sure a lot of the people in the northern region that are detailers kind of experience that. We try to grind as hard as we can, spring, summer, and fall. And again, winter time is perfect because usually MTE falls in February, so it
Yeah.
gives us excuse to grab the kid and the wife and hop on a plane and enjoy the sunny weather and then get to see what the industry offers. Kind of leading back to the question of how we do it in the winter. Me having a mobile rig, it's really hard in the sense of keeping chemicals from freezing and water. Obviously, we all think about those type of things. I have a handful of clients that have heated garages and pole barns that kind of coast us through the winter, but aren't really enough to sustain us as far as keeping keep track and going hard as we can all winter long. So, and again, we live in Michigan. A lot of people up here, they want a lot of interiors done. A lot of people up here run their cars through tunnel washes during the winter just to kind of keep the salt off. So we kind of just have to take it as we get it, and then we just kind of have to kind of go through winter and beat and realize what it is.
Yep, yep. Well, that Mike's Marine Care, you shouldn't be pen and paper anymore, dude. We need to get you off that stuff. Another good question. Do you have a different service you can do in winter to keep incomes coming in? And that's very good question. That's from Richard. He's across the pond in England. Um, and and I've got an answer to that, but I'm gonna let you answer it first, Chris. So, do you have different services you do in the winter versus summer?
Honestly, again, it just comes back to interiors. And you can kind of get away with interiors in the winter, depending on obviously how cold it truly gets. But a lot of times, I worked full time for uh, Ford for 11 years, and I was doing it on the side, so I didn't really have to care too much about winter services. That is something that I'm still trying to learn after 10 years of being in the industry and how to get over. And the biggest thing is I just didn't want an overhead, so I don't have a brick and mortar. I don't have a shop that I can
Right.
have services come into and have that be a thing. I just in wintertime it's just honestly a slow time, and it gives us an excuse to kind of unwind and to go down to MT and hang out.
Yeah, and then I do know some folks. I know some people that are in really adverse climates in Alaska and Canada, and a lot of times it's the same thing. It's an interior, or they've rented out a small location in the winter so that they can continue to do stuff, even though it's cold and miserable in a lot of those places, especially Canada and Alaska. So let's jump into, are you the only person? Are you a single person operator? Do you have employees? Do you have plans for employees? What's your goals here?
Future goals. So right now I'm sole owner, provider, service provider, doing all the admin work myself. I have some people in my corners as far as family members that help me out with advertising and stuff like that. My future goals, honestly, I'd like to have another van out on the road. My business personally, we've kind of marketed my business as quality over quantity.
Yeah.
I see a lot of businesses get into where they want to go and buy a bunch of vans and equipment and services, and then they don't have an income coming in to pay it, or they can't find reliability in people to come and actually provide the service and do all the proper training that we prefer people do and stuff like that. So future, I would love to have a couple vans out on the road. I would love to have good employees that have the passion to do what I do. I think a lot of us in the industry have a passion to do detailing, and that's why we
Yep.
do it. I think a lot of people don't get into the industry just because of the income or the money or the glitz or glam. A lot of it is we have a passion for it. So I'd like to I'd like to get more people on the books and to expand, but right now it's just me, myself, and I. And honestly, once in a while I have some help when I get super swamped, but that's a good thing about being a boss is I can kind of overlook to make sure things are being done right. So yeah, that kind of works out that way too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think some people, they do get caught up in that whole I've got to expand. Growth comes in many different ways. It can be growth in customers, it can be growth in revenue, it can be growth in employees. There's a lot of different things. My growth usually happens right here in the midsection.
Me too.
But the key is to make sure that that growth is happening the way you want it to happen. So if you don't
Yeah.
want to have 15 employees, don't get them. I know a couple of people, just a guy I was texting with this morning that has had massive numbers of employees, and it all comes down to that profit margin and that quality over quantity. Just because you have 5 vans and 10 employees doesn't mean you're making any more money than when you have 2 vans and 3 really good employees. So
Yeah,
keep
most
that in
certainly.
mind. And I know there's a lot of people out here watching it that are the same way, that have had ups and downs with employees. So, well, so there's a couple things I want to ask you. I'm
Yep.
going to do some shout outs to some of the stuff that I know you're using. Favorite P&S product?
Oh man. Oh, there's so many good ones. My favorite would have to probably be bead maker, and I know that's going to sound cliche because I know a lot of people say that, but bead maker has been a really big game changer for us as far as
Mhm.
leaving some type of protection down without having to go back to the old school carnauba paste wax. That's a lot of work. putting it on, waiting it for it to haze over, and then buffing it off. With Bead Maker, we can add some protection. We can get some gloss back, and it just lasts for quite a while too. So it's easy to apply on our end as service providers, and it's good for our customers because they see a lot of protection out of it on their plastics, their glass, their paint. I mean, it's just an all around good product. We love Bead Maker.
There you go. So Mike's asking you, says you need to network with you, Chris. Mike's Marine Care. He's not too far away from you.
Okay.
He's a great guy, but be careful because he's literally the only currently living pirate that I know of. So watch out because that's real life pirate you're talking to. Anyway, yeah, I threw that out there. Up here's Sarah. Sarah's going to have hers in there. She loves Bead Maker as well. A lot of people do, and I and I do that just because of the PNS in the background. There's a lot of products out there that are really good. I've always had this statement that every product company has a good product, right? If you went to the makers of those products and you said, what's your top one, right? They would say a certain product, but they also would have a bottom product, right? So everybody's got a good one. The other person that I would say is a good product person is Richard Hutchings in the UK. He's got a very extensive product line. I think he's got 63 products out there, and they're really phenomenal. He's involved in the development of all of them. There's a ton of really good product companies, but these are some of the ones we've had experience with, so that is good. Upcoming stuff. It's summer. You're busy. How busy are you? Are you like packed out for the next 3 months or?
I wish I was. And it's kind of a blessing that I'm not. I don't know if I mentioned you off camera. I'm a new dad, so I've got a 9-month-old at home. Yeah. She's awesome. The wife works full time. She's a nurse. Trying to find babysitters and this and that is kind of hectic. So in a sense, I'm kind of a full time dad when I'm not out servicing vehicles. So it's kind of a blessing because I get to see her, grow up and be a dad and do that. So I'm kind of glad that I'm not super busy. I'm steady. I would say I'm probably about a week out, which to me is totally fine. I'd like to be more busy, but again, I have other obligations. So, and then a part of that too would have to be networking. I'm not the best tech savvy person. I think I kind of, told you that when were kind of off camera. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go and this and that. I'm not really familiar with marketing and stuff like that. So we try to do our Google ads, our Instagram, our Facebook. We're kind of the people still that, post on community pages and stuff like that. A lot of our business is word of mouth. So yeah, we're steady, but we're not super slammed by any means.
Yeah. Well, then sometimes that's a good way to be, is just, again, it comes back to where you want to be. I mean, there's times when we've been so busy that I really wished in the back of my head that we had some people that weren't coming on board with our stuff, because sometimes it's just too much. I don't know of any business owner that hasn't been overwhelmed at one time or another, because they're like, oh my gosh, the success is great, but that can also hinder you because now you're not getting that quality in there. So that's always a good thing, is to make sure you're as busy as you want to be. So couple of questions. Let's see if we get another one here. There you go. Any help you need with marketing, we're here to help you. Richard Hutchings is somebody you really should connect to as well. Okay. Richard is he's just one of my favorite people in the whole world. I'm just going to come right out and say it. Richard is such a kind person, and he contacts you just to see how you're doing. So awesome. Richard's great for mental health. If you're having a struggle in the detailing world, Richard has been involved in detailing in the automotive world. And this is a little known secret, but Richard's actually 147 years old. One of his products, his protection cream, he rubs it all over himself and it keeps him young. And I think Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones uses it as well. So those are some little known longevity secrets there.
Good to know.
Here we go. Hold on. Mike's Marine Care. Off topic, but I see a pattern. Whoa. Here we go. This is the pattern, maybe. We did those like nurses for our better halves.
True.
That's right. Well, it's because you need it. You need it. After working on a car all day and polishing all day, you can't help but, have pain and suffering and all that. But
And actually, to circle back to that, so last year I was out servicing a vehicle for an owner, and the owner left. He ran into town. I got caught up, and it was hot. I mean, it was 80 degrees. The humidity was amazingly hot. I ended up going into some cardiac event where I dropped all my stuff, and I was on this guy's front lawn, and I called. I thought I was having a heart attack. Come to find out,
Wow.
I was extremely dehydrated. So yeah, obviously with my mom being a nurse and my wife being a nurse, they were pretty they were pretty not happy with me. So now I make sure that we're taking breaks and that I have a cooler in the van full of Gatorades and water. And so yeah, nurses are a big key in our detailing life.
Yeah. Well, actually, and I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, I know I was talking as a joke there, but self-care is one of the most overlooked things and things you really need to do. You need to have self-care. If you're out in the heat, you need to have water. One of the things I think that, boat guys like Mike there, there's kind of this weird sense when you're around water that you don't drink it. And you're not really soaking it in through osmosis. You gotta drink some water. And I think that's one of the big keys is keeping yourself hydrated. Usually you don't know you're dehydrated until it's too late. And like you said, you're having a cardiac issue, or you just get super, super tired. You're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't feel good. Especially guys like me that don't have a lot of hair on top. That's a solar panel. And that basically is sucking moisture out of your body. And then all of a sudden you're leaned up against a tree somewhere and some kid's pouring water on you because they think you're dying. So
Yeah.
you got to take care of yourself. I think that's the same with just your body in general. I mean, the work we do is very physical. It involves a lot of physical work as well as mental. And so it's working on both sides of your body there. And you got to take care of yourself. We all aren't going to be Jody Cedric and be 60 years old and be super muscle guy, but we can take care of ourselves. So, yeah,
Yeah.
hook up with some people that are,
Oh
That's
God.
it. That's it, Richard. You
I
guessed it.
was waiting
That's
for
my
that one.
secret. So that's awesome. So you got a 9-month-old. This is your only child, I'm assuming?
Yep, only in first. Yep.
Okay. Well, there you go. It gets more fun with age, but it goes super fast. My number 2 daughter just graduated from college this last
Oh,
weekend.
wow.
That means I got 2 of them that have graduated from college and 2 of them that are out of the house.
Nice.
All right, we got another one. Yes, the water's neutral AC, so you don't realize it till it's too late. Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So there's also other things you can do to help yourself mentally. There's a
Yeah.
whole lectures about it all the time. The other thing you need to do is take care of yourself mentally. And there's a lot of times we as and I'm going to step inside of something that Jody talks about a lot. We as men and as fathers and as husbands or as partners, we a lot of times are the I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, even when you're not. And so a lot of times I think that it's really important for people to realize that it's okay not to be okay. It's better to say I'm not okay and I need something than it is to usually that comes out in a negative way.
Yeah.
As men, we do something. We're angry. We're a complete ass at work. We blow up at somebody, and that kind of stuff. And so I would say that finding somebody that you can just talk to when you're not feeling so great is a really good thing, and not somebody you just dump on all the time, but take care of your mental health. That's a really important part of, I think, the industry we're in, because a lot of times, do you do only customer stuff or do you do dealership work as well?
I tend to stay away from dealerships. It's mostly residential based.
Okay. So that's, I think a lot of times in the, especially in the dealership world, and that's why I brought that up.
Okay.
We as detailers have a tendency to be like the bottom of the rung, right? We are like, when in the statement that shit rolls downhill, we're at the bottom of the hill. And so people take that personally, and it's just the way it is. It's like somebody that cleans bathrooms for a living. that person is looked at as a lesser human. They're not. There's somebody that's doing a very vital job. If that person wasn't there, that would be a really bad situation. You'd be wishing that that person was there. And so detailers are kind of put in that category sometimes. And we have to remember that that's a job role. It's not who we are.
Right.
I've met some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life in the detailing industry, some of the smartest people. And that is saying a lot. In the corporate world, I've met some very educated, very high up people that were complete idiots. And and that's just how that works. You know, it doesn't, your intelligence isn't based on what you do for a living or anything else. So, you know, I think people just need to take that into consideration. So, what, totally switching topics to your mobile rig, what do you have for a mobile rig?
I have a 2015 Ford Transit Connect. I bought it used. It had 40,000 at the time, and I think we're pushing 150, so we're getting up there. And I service all over mid Michigan. I mean, when people get on Detail Bookie and schedule their services, I'm amazed at some of the places that I see pop up. So I'm like, oh, I'm driving an hour today, or I'm driving an hour and a half, or whatever it may be. So we have the van that's fully loaded. We got so back when I first started, I was working out of the back of my pickup truck, like I think a lot of us mobile detailers started with. And that was a mess, having to take things out, set them up, just go through the paces. And you were spending more time setting things up than you were and breaking things down than you were detailing. And it just got to be a mess. So throughout the years of working out of my truck, I saved up enough to buy the van, and then I bought all the equipment cash. My whole thing too with starting a business is I've seen a lot of businesses. Again, it comes back to that thing where a lot of businesses go out and buy, and they don't have revenue coming in, and then they're like, "Oh, we don't know how to pay our bills." So when I was working full time and doing detailing on the side, I took all of the money I was making from the detailing and the overtime at my job and putting it into the van. So we contacted Right Look out of California. They custom built a wash system for us. They shipped it up here via UPS, and then everything else I kind of just designed myself. I mean, all the rack systems were from Amazon, and all of our chemical holders, our hose reels, they're all on retrack. So it looks really nice and professional. And again, coming back to living in a small town, when I do show up to people's houses that book online, they don't really necessarily say they follow us on Facebook or Google or Instagram or stuff like that. So when I show up, they're like, "Wow, you're really not messing around." So it's kind of nice to see that, because I think a lot of people, when they hear detailer, they think about someone showing up to their house with a couple buckets of pail water and a couple chemicals stuffed in their pocket. So it's always nice to get that feedback and to say that we look professional and that we have everything on retracts and we're ready to go the minute we open the doors.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that again that image of a detailer is Biff from Back to the Future, you know.
Yeah.
So I got this is a direct message from Mike at Mike's Marine Care. I have an idea for you as a mobile rig. We need to build a pirate ship, an actual wooden pirate ship on wheels that you can drive around. That it would be wonderful. So you'd have
Right.
Calypso on the sail, and you just go everywhere with this mobile pirate ship. Anyway, I digress. So, a couple of things. We'll break away just for a second here. A couple of things that we have coming up. There is several events coming up this year. There is a event in June that is called there is an event in Houston, Texas called the Shine Time Mobile Expo. It's an aviation and automotive. It's a really high end thing. There's a website out there. Go to the ADA's website, the Aviation Detailing Association. There is another event coming up in July that is in Denver, Colorado at the RoadFS Training Center, and that is a motorcycle detailing event. It's really going to be cool. We have like 8 or 10 motorcycles set up. I'm going to be down there for that as well. It's being put on by RoadFS and RoadFS and Angel Wax and just a bunch of people. And then a year from this month, in May of 2026, there is an event in Manchester, England, called The Show. It is unbelievable. Richard Hutchings has worked for so I think 2 years to get this set up, but the show is actually underneath the Concorde at the Manchester airport. So you literally land, you go across the street, there's a Concorde sitting there, and underneath it is where the show is going to be, and it's going to be crazy cool. And that's May of next year. So you can go out online. It's on Facebook. There's a lot of advertisement about it, but it's going to be really epic to get out there. But if you're in the Houston area in, I think it's 3 weeks, June 6th, Shine Time Expo in Houston, Texas. Come and check that one out, or Denver, Colorado for the motorcycle training. So what do you have on your schedule for the next time you're traveling? Are you going to be going to the SEMA show or Mobile Tech Expo or?
So that's a dream of mine. I've never made it out to SEMA. I always get to see all you guys out at SEMA and follow all the things on social media on that. Honestly, I'd like to go back out to MT as well. MT is a great event. They have a lot of people out there in the industry that what amazed me about MT was paintless dent removal guys. Those guys are just awesome. Sitting there watching them work out dents and them dressed up, they have like a costume contest that was really cool to see. I like MTE, but I would love to go out to SEMA and stuff like that just to see what's different about that in MTE.
What's different is it's massive and it's too much. I've gone since 2008, and the SEMA show is insane. So you need to go at least once, put it on your bucket list. But the one thing I really liked about MTE this year is the polishing competition that they had. The way they handled that was epic. Alex Russell, he's from Aquatech, and then he's got a detail shop in Florida, but he's also the Detail Solutions podcast, and a friend of ours. He put together that thing, and it was fantastic. I didn't know how they were going to pull it off, but it was basically cookie sheets that had been painted with automotive paint, and they had just every single one of them was painted by the same guy with the same number of passes, the same amount of paint, and then you signed up, and you could use any product or any combination of products, and you had a time frame that you could do it in, and it was really, really cool. A lot of people were skeptical of how it was going to work out, but it was absolutely, to me, the fairest competition you could do. And so it was really cool, and I'm glad people did it. You should get out there and do that just to test your skills. It's not about who's the greatest polisher in the world, because that's going to be a day-to-day thing. Jody and I were in Jacksonville, Florida, just a month or so ago. There was an event down there, a detailing event that was put on by Richard Hutchings and by Rashid Baker at his shop in Jacksonville. And we had RoadFS and RoadFS and Detail Bookie were there. And again, Richard with Leather Repair Company. But there was a boat, a black boat. It was very oxidized. And we polished on it. Everybody took a section. I didn't polish on it. And I didn't know there was even going to be a competition, but they set it up. They didn't tell anybody. They just had everybody do a section. And then that night they went back and they checked to see who did the best. And Jody, my partner, Jody was the best one. So it really is that day and who's doing it and what vehicle it is, right? If it's a boat and it's got gel coat on it and you're doing a rotary and you're just going to town on it, or if you're something else. So always learn something. I've been going to these events. Jody and I probably go to 15 plus events per year. Last year we were in 8 different countries, and between the two of us, and we were at tons and tons of events. Baking sheet to the portfolio. That's it. You can add that you polished the baking sheet. I've detailed a lawnmower, so that's,
Yeah,
so yeah. So the thing about that is you always learn something. I have never been to an event where I didn't learn something. I've never been to an event where I knew everything. And I've never, ever in my life been to that. So go to these events and pick something up for, different processes, different techniques, different tools, different products. And it's all about checking out new stuff. And I really appreciate the ability for us to go to all these events and do all these things. So that would be fun. You got to go to SEMA at least once in your life.
That's on the bucket list.
Yep. So, any questions that you have for the rest of the world? There's people watching and stuff. What do you, what do you got for questions of things you need to know?
I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily have questions. I think, like you said, getting hooked up with someone with the right marketing skills would be ideal for me, just because I'm pretty computer literate. Detail Bookie was a big overcome for me to learn. Me and the wife sat down for, I think, because she's tech savvy and she's a little younger than me, so she got a hold of my Detail Bookie, and we spent probably, I want to say, 6 or 8 hours customizing it to making sure that everything was specific as far as how we did invoices, how we did bookings, how we did customized vehicle pricing and all that. So that was a big help with her. And honestly, Detail Bookie is not complicated to the average Joe, but again, when it comes to someone that is trying to navigate a new system and trying to figure out something online that I've never messed with, I think my biggest thing would be marketing. Coming back to that is just, marketing would be the biggest thing for me, because Detail Bookie's great. It's a great source for someone to go on a website. Like, I'm just, so I don't personally have a website either. That's another thing I'd like to get up and running. So if you like typed in Warden's Auto Detailing on Google, what I actually use for a website is my Detail Bookie link. So it's kind of, it's nice that you can go on there and get an estimate and book services. However, you don't see any previous past work other than what people have left reviews on, and so, things like that. But I'd love to put my plaques up, showing that we went and did training through PNS and all that. So I think getting a website and getting marketing would be a great help to Warden's Auto Detailing.
Yep. You definitely should connect with Mike from Mike's Marine Care. He's on here. And then another person that's watching this, he's in Denver, Colorado, is Kyle Camus. Both those guys and Richard Hutchings, all three of those guys, really good at marketing themselves and their shops. Kyle and Mike are going to be people to have the more of the flashy, TikTok-y videos that are really catchy. Mike's really good at it. Kyle's really good at doing some of that stuff. So yeah, you're just connect with some of the people here. And then, and we, that's what I would do, is connect with them, because they know how to market the specific services they're doing and the specific types of things. And then just get involved in some of the groups, right? There's IDA groups you can get involved in, IDA meet and greets and things like that. That would be a really good way to do it. Connect with some of the other groups like Detailers of the Round Table, or that kind of stuff. Anytime you go to a summit, there's a detailing summit. There's several of them a year. Richard Hutchings again puts those on. Those are fantastic. You meet tons of people and you kind of stay connected with that whole group of the people that you went to that summit with. I just encourage you to go do that stuff, because the more you get involved in it, the more resources you get, the more tips and tricks and just stuff that out. Yep, there's this as well. There's a YouTube channel. Richard's talking about the Detail Coach YouTube channel.
Perfect.
And then of course you got to go subscribe to the RoadFS Detail channel, because we have like 7 majillion episodes. I think that's a new term out there, but Leather Coach channel, that's it right there. Cool. Yeah, we actually have like over 600 episodes of people from all over. We've got, some of the big name guys like Mike Phillips and Jason Rose and Rennie Doyle and Diane Doyle. But we've also got a ton of the people that you already know, like Sidney Bray Gwynn, Tony Manziel, and some of the people from all the product companies as well. And there's a lot of really good people. You've got people like Rashid Baker in Jacksonville. You've got Rain Albertson, who's in Ohio, which is, not really close to you, but it's closer than Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned TikTok too. My wife is always on me. She's like, you need to make TikToks. You need to make a TikTok channel. And I'm like, I don't know how to do any of that.
Yep. And Mike's gone to a couple of the summits. They are life-changing. They really are. So you should go to Manchester, England in May of 2026. That one's going to be fantastical. That's one of the things is I don't even know. I don't do TikTok. I don't personally have a TikTok channel. Jody does a lot of our marketing and stuff like that, but I do a lot of stuff on mine. And it is all about just being yourself to me, whether you're flashy or not flashy, or you say stupid stuff. I normally say stupid stuff every 5 minutes. So that's my persona. Rod's going to say stupid stuff. But it's gotten to the point now where I actually get paid by Facebook. So it's not enough to even buy a cup of coffee, but I at least get a little check every once in a while. So that's kind of cool. I do encourage people to go out and if you've got friends or family or people you know that have YouTube or Facebook channels or stuff like that, go watch them, go follow them, go subscribe to the people on YouTube like RoadFS Detail Bookie, like the Leather Coach. Go out to those YouTube channels, because the more followers we get, the bigger the reach, and it really helps us. That's really one of the reasons that Jody and I get to go to all these places, is because we get people to follow us, and then we can go to these places, and sometimes they'll sponsor us and whatnot. So I encourage everybody to go out and just go to as many events as you can, without putting yourself at financial risk, but expose yourself to that. So what, Chris, in your mind, somebody that is just starting out, so let's pretend there's a person here, they're just starting out in detailing, they're that super excited to get into the industry. What's a couple pieces of advice you would give them?
I think it kind of comes back to what we had talked about. Don't overbook, don't overthink things, don't oversell something that you can't provide service on. Just be yourself. So I think honesty goes a long way with people, especially in this industry. I had a client that I just got the other day, said that, his previous detailer had like a workbench fall into his truck, and then the detailer denied it. And then he went to his cameras on his house and showed the detailer, that it was clearly him. He still denied it. And then obviously we're providing services to them now. So honesty goes a long way with people. If you make a mistake, own up to it. Let's get it right. Let's fix it right then and there. Um, Show your work when you're done with your service. I know a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, I know some detailers, they just go and provide a service, and then they're in their van or they're in their shop and they just send the client down the road. When the customer comes in, if you're new to the industry and you're a new detailer, show your work, do a walk around. In my business, I do walk around. So when
Yeah.
we're done with the service, I rather catch something that we missed while we're on site than to get a phone call or a bad review on Google. We're human. We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna miss an area now and then. Obviously, as professionals, we don't want to do that. It's almost a bad look in a sense, but we're human at the end of the day, and I think that goes a long way with people, especially nowadays, because I feel like everybody's just in some. Most people, some I shouldn't say most. Some people are in the industry for a quick money grab. If you're truly a good detailer and you want to be good to your customers and you want to have a business that grows, be honest. Go walk
Mhm.
through your cars, have them look at it. I mean, you want their feedback, and I think that would be a good starting point if you're starting out. And again, my business, I can't say it for everybody. Mine's quality over quantity. Don't saturate yourself with trying to get everybody. I fell victim to this in a sense when I started out. I would follow other details and see how much the detailers and see how much work they were getting. I'm like, these guys are working every day. How are they doing it? But then you got to look at what are the prices they're charging, what kind of quality of service are they giving. So that kind of, I would say, and that kind of falls back into my line of work, where quality over quantity. I rather grow exponentially slowly than fastly. I rather, it might take another 10 years to get where I want it to be. But as long as that I keep that quality in my services, that's all I care about. The money will come in, the revenue, the uh the acknowledgement of people will come in over time. You just start slow and make sure you're doing it right so you don't have to come back and do it again and get better. Companies don't last that long when you're just go, go, go. Just take your time.
Yep. No, I agree with that 150%. The other thing I would give people advice is, enjoy where you're at,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
I always use the analogy of your cars you've owned throughout your life. Most of us, when we were kids, the first car we had was a complete and total piece of crap, but we enjoyed it. And
Yep.
so enjoy the journey along the way, because I would have this conversation with every one of my children. Nobody goes from a broken down, 92 Honda to a Ferrari. That doesn't happen. You have to take the steps and enjoy the fact that you're taking those steps. So, do what you can to start out, and then move into it and figure out where you want to be. And don't compare yourself to somebody when you're on chapter one, because it's your first year, to somebody that's been doing it for 30 years. You can't
Yeah.
compare yourself to them. They've obviously got their stuff dialed in.
Yeah.
And people are on a different path. My journey is not your journey. So follow your own journey and get there when you get there. So don't be in
And
too
I
much
think,
of a hurry that you end up sacrificing that quality for quantity.
well, and to add to that, when it comes to social media, I feel like we're in a day and age where everybody wants to compare and go back and forth. But again, like you said, you can't look at that, because if you do, you get caught up in it. It comes back to mental health too. I can sit here and say, well, man, I wish I had that business, or I wish I was that far ahead in my business. But I learned real quick, if I stopped doing that, I was a lot happier. I'm happy with slowly growing than going above and beyond right away and then having going down in a ball of flames.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's the opposite of that old analogy. It's better to burn out than fade away. In a business, you want to take that slow and kind of get into it. Take opportunities when they come in, but
Absolutely.
the for us, when we acquired Detail Bookie this year, it was the right time. We couldn't have done it before, and the fact that we got into it this many years and we were friends with Dustin Jackson and the people in Detail Bookie is what really facilitated that whole thing. And now we're able to take something that was good to start with, and we're able to take it to that next level. There's a question that came into me this week, and somebody said, was Detail Bookie bad? Was it going downhill? Absolutely not. That's not what happened. We acquired it because it was time. Because Dustin, in his own words, he had taken it as far as he could take it, and he knew that we could take it to the next level. But Detail Bookie stood on its own. It's kind of like anybody's product, right? Your services could stand on their own, and because you get another employee in another van, it doesn't mean you worked good before. It means you've chosen to go that route. If I do paint correction really well, but I'm really not great at PPF, but I hire somebody in to do PPF, it's because I want to grow, and it's the best way to do it. It's not because any other reason. So
Yeah,
take your time and be on your own journey is what I would say. A lot of people have just settled into their journey and they're happy where they're at. So,
absolutely.
any last words before we close it out?
I don't really have any last words. I appreciate you bringing me on and having a podcast with me and getting to know me. I'm interested in getting to know you guys, especially seeing the face of Detail Bookie again.
Yeah.
So I was really I kept up with Dustin on his channels, and I'd always comment, like how we're doing now on his live streams, and kind of get some feedback from him and information, and kind of joke around with them guys. So it's kind of cool to have the personal connection with you guys too. And I think that's another thing, coming back real quick to customers in your business. I'm pretty personable with my customers. And I think a lot of customers enjoy that. Maybe not all, but I think a lot of them do. I mean, a lot of my customers, later on down the road, I see their kids grow up, or I see what's going on in their family, and I stay connected with them. And it's always important to get that first customer, but it's more important to keep that customer and that client throughout the life of their vehicle or their vehicles in general. So I
Mhm.
think being personable with people, especially in this day and age, goes a long way as well. I think I'll
Yeah.
just close out with that.
Yeah, perfect. And I would echo that for sure. This is Jody and I's 16th year of of running this company and owning it, and we still have our first two RoadFS clients are still clients of ours today.
That's awesome.
So they started that many years ago. They've grown with us. I think that's just like any other business. You grow with it, and that's what I see. That any of the people that I see that are successful, they have grown in one way or another, and they've kept that clientele going on. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We will be back again next week, and then coming up in a couple weeks, like I said, we'll be in Houston, Texas. Jody and I are emceeing the entire thing, so I'm not sure if they realize who they're giving a microphone to, but that's going to be fun. We'll see if we can get banned from that facility. And then like I said, I will be in Denver, Colorado for a motorcycle training, and we'll be doing all kinds of stuff. So look for us online. Don't forget to go out and like, share, subscribe everybody that you know's channels, RoadFS, Detail Bookie as well. And we will see you next Thursday at the same time. And as Jody would say, see ya.